Hi, my name is Chintan, and in this video today we are going to take a look at how to model the Tel Aviv residential tower inside of SketchUp. This was designed by Chris Peck from Panda and is located at Tel Aviv. If you have any doubts or any questions, you can join our Discord server, link down below, or you can just post them in the comments. So let's begin. Okay, so let's begin by making a square of size 26 meters by 26 meters. Now give it a height of 100 meters using the push pull tool. Now double click to select it all and make it a group using Ctrl plus G. Rotate the axis by 45 degrees. Right click on the axis and type in 45 degrees in the blue, the Z axis. Now draw a line in the red direction like this. Select it and make 6 copies of it by pressing Ctrl and then typing divide by 6 like this. We are doing this to distribute 4 cubes on this side evenly. Now make a square like this and copy it using the move tool, and then again copy it like this. Now delete the lines in the middle and delete this line. Then double click to select it and make it a group. Now edit this group and rotate this edge as we need to use it for the reference to give it a height. Now give it a height using that edge like this. Now click outside and make this a component. Right click, make component. Now using the move tool, drag a copy of this over here and then type divide by 3 to make 3 copies. Now we don't need these lines, so we can delete them. Now select these 4 components and use the move tool and hit Alt 3 times on your keyboard. Move them from the center and place it over here like this. Now select these 8 components, copy them and paste them in place, and then scale it and type -1 to mirror it and place them over here. Similarly, do it again. Select all these components, copy them, and then paste them in place using Ctrl Shift V and hit scale, and then type -1 to mirror them, and then place the component over here like this. Now I have set up a shortcut Ctrl Shift V for pasting in place. Now we need to edit any component. Double click to edit it. Offset this face by 200 mm. Now move this edge back to its original position and move this edge more by 200 mm like this. Now we need to make a guideline. For that, use a tape measure tool, shortcut for which is T, and make a guideline at 2 meters. Now make an arc using the arc tool, shortcut for which is A, and make an arc like this. Now delete the guideline. Now select these 2 edges and using the follow me tool, shortcut for which is Ctrl F, click on this face so that it follows this face along those 2 edges, and it would give you a shape like this. Now here we can see some overlapping components, so therefore select these 2 and intersect them using the solid tools. Now we need to make this separate component, so right click and make component. So this is a component number 2. Now we need to replace these corners with component 2. So first we delete these instances and the remaining 3 places. Delete them. Now make a line using the line tool so that we can use this as a reference to rotate. Select component 2 and rotate 3 copies of it using the rotate tool along with the control key, this, and then type 3x, make 3 copies. Now select these 2 opposite components and move them to match the upper level like this. Now to further edit the first component, double click on any instance, select these faces, top one and the bottom one, and then make them a group. Control plus G, and select everything using Control A, and then deselect the group that we made earlier and hit delete. After that, you will be left with this. Now to give this the thickness, we'll use the joint push pull plugin, for which I have assigned the shortcut Shift plus P. So double click to edit this group, and then press Shift plus P to activate the joint push pull plugin, and then give this a thickness of 400 mm. Also push the bottom slab up by 200 mm and the roof slab down by 200 mm as well. Also move this face down by 200 mm and the bottom face up by 200 mm. Now we need to do the same thing with component 2 as well. So select this face, one, the one over here, and the top face and the bottom face, and then make them a group using Control plus G. Then select everything using Control A, and then hit delete after deselecting the group, and then you should be left with this. Now to give this thickness, use the joint push pull plugin, press Shift P and give it a thickness of 400 mm. Similarly, bring this face up by 200 mm, this face down by 200 mm as well. Bring this face down by 200 mm to match the rest of the components. This face up by 200 mm as well. By now component 2 should look like this. Now our basic form is sort of coming together. Now we need to select all these components and make a copy of them. Select all of them like this. Deselect this line we made earlier, and then using the move tool and pressing the Control key, drag a copy of it like this, then type 17x on your keyboard, and primary form is sort of ready. Now we just need to refine it further. So after this, if you start experiencing some lag, you can go to View, Edge Style, and then turn off edge profiles so that it gets a bit easier on your system. Now edit any instance of component 1, so double click to edit it. This is the edit mode. Now make a diagonal line on top of this component using the line tool like this, and rotate a copy of the same component by 180 degrees using the Control key and the rotate tool like this. Now to remove the overlapping bottom part, we'll make a cube and subtract it using the solid tools. So make a square like this and push it up using the push pull tool to a midpoint like this. Now triple click to select it and make it a group. Now with the cube selected, press the subtract tool in the solid tools menu and then click on the rotated group. Should cut the rotated group in half. Now we have two groups left. One is this and the other is the original group. Now select the original group and then press the subtract tool in the solid tools panel and then click on the second group like this. Doing this removes the overlapping parts and clean up the geometry. Now copy this component and paste it in the place and then scale it, and if we press the Control key, we'll scale it from the middle and then type -1 on your keyboard to mirror it like this. and we can triple click to select this arch. We don't need it, and delete it. Now you can see we have 3 arches. Now we can move this over by 400 mm. Also rotate a copy of it using the rotate tool and pressing the control key and rotate it by 90 degrees. Now move this arch over to the edge using the move tool. In this remaining area, make a square using the rectangle tool and push it down using the push pull tool. Make a column like this. Now triple click to select it and press Ctrl G to group it. And your first component should be looking like this. Now moving ahead, we need to make the arches and the windows and the window frames. So inference this point from the midpoint of this column like this, and make a rectangle to the midpoint of the other column. And to see inside the geo, you can use the X-ray view, which I have binded to the key X. Now select this face and intersect it with the model. So right click and intersect faces with model. Now you can press Ctrl// to hide the rest of the model. Double click to select this face and group it. And then if we triple click, we can delete the extra geometry like this. This will select the face inside the geo and we can delete that. Now select this face and using the divide panel tool from the 1001-bit Pro plugin, change the number of rows to 1 and the number of columns to 4, and then press create panel. This would give us this window. Now going inside this panel group, and we can reverse these faces and then give this whole thing a glass material like this. Similarly, using the paint bucket tool, we can give the frame a sort of a light gray color so that we can differentiate it from the rest of the model. Now going inside this component, we need to rotate a copy of this window panel by using the rotate tool, the shortcut for which is Q, and then pressing the control key on your keyboard and then rotating it by 90 degrees like this, and then toggling the X-ray mode from the shortcut X and then placing it using the midpoints. Now we need to model the green areas and the railings. So for that, enter the component and copy these 2 lines and then paste them outside the group using the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+V, that is for pasting in place. Then offset this line using the offset tool, offset this by a meter. Then connect these 2 lines, this, and if we connect these 2 lines, that would give us a face. Then double click to select it and group it using the shortcut Ctrl+G. Then we can edit it using the push pull tool, and we can give this a thickness, this. Then if we offset this face by 200 mm, and if we push the face in the middle down, that would give us some sort of a flower box. So we can select it all, deselect the middle face, give it a gray color, and we select the middle face again. We can give this sort of a light green color to signify some landscaping. Similarly, we can copy these 2 edges to make the railings, and then if we paste them outside the group, and we can move these on to this point. Then if we move them in the Z direction by 1200 mm and offset it by 200 mm as well. Now to give these edges thickness, we can either use the rectangle and the follow me tool, or we can just use the profile builder plugin, the shortcut for which is Ctrl+Shift+P. So I'll be using the profile builder plugin. I find it very convenient. Now change the width over here to 60 mm and the height 30 mm. Then click on this button over here. This would give us a profile. Now close this panel, and now we can make copies of this using the move tool along with the control key. and then typing divide by 6 on the keyboard. But I guess we should color this before making copies, so let's sample this color from over here and then color it like this, and then make copies using the move tool like this, and then type divide by 6 to make 6 copies. Now as these railings are sort of going inside the geometry, we need to trim the extra parts. It's an optional thing, I like to do it. So select the parent group, then press trim in the solid tools panel, and then click each of them individually. Now that would trim these. If we press X, we can see the railings are all trimmed. Now our form is sort of coming together. Now similarly, we need to repeat the same steps in the component 2. So double click to edit the component and then select these 3 lines, and then copy them and then paste them outside the group using the command Ctrl+Shift+V. Then offset these lines by 1 meter, and then to make a face we need to connect these lines over here. Now double click to select this group and select this face and then make a group. Then give it some thickness using the push pull tool and then offset it. Now we can push this face down by 50 millimeters and then give them some generic materials. So we can sample the material from the rest of the model. To sample the materials, you need to hold Alt on your keyboard while you are in the paint bucket tool. That way you can sample the materials. Now similarly for the railings, select these 3 edges and then paste them outside the group in the same place. Now move these 3 edges onto this surface, then move it up in the Z direction by 1200 mm. Then offset this using the offset tool, the shortcut for which is F. Offset this by 200 mm. Now to give this thickness we can make a rectangle or use the follow me tool, but here we are using the profile builder plugin. Then make copies. For that, color this. Now we can drag copies of this using the move tool along with the control key as we did before. Make a copy over here and then type divide by 6. Now select the parent group, go in the solid tools panel, click trim, then click on each individual railing to trim these. That would trim all the railings. Now we can make the floor slabs. So start by using the line tool and then start clicking in the red and the green axis. Now you make sure that you draw these lines in a coplanar manner, otherwise we won't get a face we are looking for. You can use the shift key to lock your axis. Once you finish making this face, we can use the push pull tool to give it a thickness of 400 millimeters. Now we can double click to select it all and make it a group. Now make this line because we need to copy the slab and rotate it, so we can use this as a reference. Make a copy of this slab using the move tool and the control key, and with that being selected, rotate it from the midpoint of this line by 90 degrees like this. Now select both of the slabs. Now select both of the slabs and make copies of them as well. Click from this point to this point and then type 18x on your keyboard to make 18 copies. And you can see all our floors now have a slab. Once you reach this stage, it would be a good thing that you save this file. Now switch to top view. I have set up a shortcut Ctrl+1 for that. Change the camera from perspective to parallel projection. Now select these 4 columns of components and make them unique by right click and make them unique. I have also set up the tilde key as a shortcut to change the camera perspective. Now as you can see, these windows are sort of messed up and are doubling on each other, so we need to delete these. So make a copy of this arc and by toggling the rest of the model view on, place it over here. Here we need to make a window that is sort of 90 degrees. For that, make a rectangle from one column to the other. Now select this face and intersect it with the model. Now select this part and make this a group. Now switching to the X-ray view, we can triple click on the remaining parts and we can delete them. Now double click on this group to edit it and divide it into 2 halves using the line tool. So join the midpoints of these 2 lines. Now use backslash to hide the rest of the model. And now rotate this using the rotate tool at 90 degrees. Now you can explode this group. And by using the divide panel tool in the 1001-bit Pro plugin, we can make this a window. So change the number of rows to 1 and the number of columns to 2. And now repeat the same thing for this one as well. Now we can give them a material. So we can give this a gray material. Similarly for this one as well. Similarly, we can select these faces and reverse them, and then also for this one select this and reverse these, and then we can give these a glass material. Now we can delete the extra arches that are not in the correct position, so we can delete these and this one. And also these ones. Now we need to copy these arches. Copy them and paste them in the same place outside the component. Then move it over here. We can delete this arch and triple click to select this arch and move it to the extreme left over here so that it aligns with the column. Now as you can see, the axis of this component is sort of skewed, so we need to reset this. So to reset the axis of this component, right click on the axis and then place it over here and then align it this way and Then it would ask that would you like to update it for all instances. You would click yes for it. Now we'll try making the rectangle once again. So we influence this point and we change the axis to green. Now we can make a rectangle in the green axis. So select this face and make this a group after intersecting it with the model, and then delete the remaining parts. You can use the X key as a shortcut to toggle X-ray. Now explode this group and then press Ctrl plus D to make this a window. In the number of rows to 1 and number of columns to 6, and that would give us a wider window like this. We need to reverse the faces of this and then give it a glass material. And also we can give this frame a darker gray material as well. Now we need to copy these arches. Select both of these arches and then make a copy of them. Then drag them down like this along with the window. Now it looks perfect. Now most of the modeling is complete. There are just a few things that we need to fix. Heating. Now we need to fill these gaps. So select these arches and then copy and paste them outside the component. Then we can place it on the floor above. So use the move tool to move it in the Z direction. Paste it over here. Also these columns are sort of missing, so we need to make them. So use the rectangle tool to make a column and then push them upwards. And we can also drag a copy of this on the right side like this. And we need to repeat the same thing on this side as well. Make a rectangle and use the push pull tool to make a column. This. And make a copy of this over here. Now here, as you can see, these windows are placed wrong. We can either fix them the same way we did before or just replace them with the ones that we fixed earlier. So switch to top view by pressing Ctrl 1 and then switch to parallel projection using the tilde key. Then select these columns of component that are causing the problem and then delete them. Then select these 4 columns which we already fixed. And use the rotate tool along with the control key to rotate a copy of these components by 90 degrees like this. As you can see, these are sort of at the wrong level, so we need to correct this by moving them down. With them being already selected, move them down to this level, and that should make it work and should look fine. And finally we are done with this. So this is how you model the CRISPR residential tower inside of SketchUp. You can use this technique to model your own forms by modeling a component and then arraying it around the box in a similar manner. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. If you have any doubts, you can join our Discord server. If you want my shortcut list, you can get that on code for free. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.